Welcome to the Liberty First Foundation's Roundtable for this week. I'm right now the only one here. My name is Mike Marshall. I am one of the co-founders of the Liberty First Foundation, and each week on Friday at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, we have a roundtable discussion talking about the latest happenings in politics and our government and how they affect our rights and um, basically how we can react to and how we can respond to them, what actions we can take. Again, we do this every Friday night, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. Normally, I have a panel of guests that are here with me. Seems like most of them are late or they either will not be on tonight, so I guess you're stuck with me for a while. As always, we encourage our viewers to participate in the discussion, ask questions, challenge us on our positions. If you have something that you think is different or that you think that we've got wrong, challenge us on it. Okay, we don't know everything, but we generally figure things out. And we're always open to a friendly dialogue and discussion, robust discussion on various events and items that happen. Frank Scotus Johnson is in the house.
Good evening, friends. Good evening, Michael. How are you?
I am doing great. So, did you happen to catch any of Governor Hochul's press conference today?
Uh, to be honest, no. I was actually doing something that a majority of the people in her administration don't do, and that's work. I was out, I was out there making a living today, and didn't have an opportunity to actually hear any of the hubbub that she came up with. But I'm sure it was just more of the same. Oh, we'll figure out a way how to avoid having to adhere to the Constitution
Oh, yeah,
because
that's exactly it.
New York is its own entity, and we do not abide by the rule of this country. We took an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution, although our real objective is to usurp and destroy it. I imagine it was something like that. Maybe.
Jan, we are broadcasting on Facebook. I did not share it to the Liberty First Foundation group. However, you can find us on the Liberty First Foundation page. By doing this, we actually can get this broadcast on Facebook and on both of our channels on YouTube. So I had to make some adjustments, and that's why we're not on the Facebook group, but you can find us on our Facebook page.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to be switching around a couple of windows right now so that I can pay attention to any comments that are being made also, because Michael right now is the only one that has the liberty of seeing those comments. So
Now, you should see them on side of the StreamYard, Frank.
I only
It's
the
the
only one
comments button.
I only have is on the where the hell are we now? No, I only have okay private chat comment. Oh, there we go. Oh, would you look at that? Ah, Jan, how are you, Jan? Sorry, I didn't see you hiding there on me, sweetheart. I'm sorry.
Okay, so I'm actually going to play a little snippet of the governor's um, conference today. So let's go ahead and get this up. Okay.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you get to see her wonderful face. So here we go.
The purpose we gathered after I heard the Supreme Court decision last Thursday. Seemed like an eternity ago. We heard that, and I said, I will bring back this session. I will get the legislature back, and we'll start up again and to adapt and make the changes necessary after the Supreme Court overturned our concealed carry law. Again, on the books in the state, working well, working successfully for over 100 years. And because with the stroke of a pen, they removed long-standing limitations that we were able to use in the state of New York to make smart decisions on who should have the right to carry a weapon Literally, concealed carry means a hidden weapon. And so we believe that gun laws like those have made New York State safer and has made us the fifth lowest. Uh, it's the lowest, fifth, I'm going to get this right, fifth lowest state in the nation in terms of firearm related deaths. A reminder, there's 50 states. New York State, with our sensible gun safety laws, including the concealed carry law we had on the books for 100 years, had us as the fifth lowest in the nation in terms of firearm related deaths.
Okay, so I'm going to pause it right there. She says that we are the fifth lowest state in the nation as far as firearm deaths. Now, what she doesn't really go into is that New York State is not a safe state. Okay, so I'm going to show another screen that shows the rankings by state for violent crime. And we are in New York. New York is the 25th most violent state in the nation. It ranks 10th highest in the total number of murders as of 2018. It has 314 adults per 100,000 imprisoned, and it has a poverty rate of 13.6%. Its most dangerous city is Newburgh. Now, even though we don't have a lot of quote unquote gun deaths, she is misleading the public. Okay, she is using misinformation to try to say that by us not having guns, we are safer, when these statistics show that we are not. And these are actually from the FBI crime statistics database. And New York, again, ranked 10th highest with 562 murders in 2018. And they are ranked, as far as violent crime, as the 25th most violent state in the nation.
Yeah, well, didn't she say the other day something about, well, don't show me the numbers, I can make my own decisions?
Yes, she did. She actually
Yeah,
said,
so
I don't go by the data. I don't need the data.
yeah. Well, look, I'm out of New York, so I'm like, hey, you know what? Hey, you do you, But I got to. I honestly don't understand how New York can continuously believe that they can act in their own vacuum, as if to say that they're above and beyond what the Supreme Court or the Constitution or anybody else has to say. New York, you're not special. You're not special. You're just one of 50. One of
Mhm.
50. I'm one of four kids. I never got a choice to eat with decision where we were gonna go out to eat. You're one of 50. You think you're gonna have the right to make up your own rules? Come on, get the hell out of here with this. I think she's bitten off more than she could chew at this point. I mean,
Well, here's the law that they are actually in the process of working on. All private businesses and privately owned private property is going to default as sensitive locations. And the only way that you can legally carry in those sensitive locations is if they actually have a sign posted, concealed carry people. Um, we welcome people that conceal carry.
now you see, freedom is the default.
Mm-hmm.
The Constitution is the default. You live your life by the default, and that's the God given rights that you have. It's not until you voluntarily acquiesce those rights to enter someplace because you have made a conscious decision to say, I am going to forego my rights to enter this theater, this hospital, this government building, this library, whatever the hell building it is. You're not going to, because now you're basically saying Well, unless the state comes along and writes on the street, you can carry your gun here. Then they're making default the street a sensitive area, the sidewalk a sensitive area, public spaces a sensitive area. You can't do that. Freedom is the default. This is them. This is the same thing as guilty until proven innocent.
Exactly.
You have to determine where your rights are applicable. No, it's to the citizen to decide at what point our rights are not applicable. And that's voluntary because now I have the right to say to myself, maybe I don't want to go into a place that doesn't allow me to carry my firearms, like a Buffalo Wild Wings restaurant. That across the country they don't welcome anybody that has a concealed carry permit or open carry. They won't respect those rights. So you know what? I've never spent a friggin' dime in a Buffalo Wild Wings restaurant, and I never will, because I'm never going to step foot into a place that doesn't allow me to defend myself unless they have an apparatus in place ready to defend me and my family when I enter it. Freedom is the default. You can't default somebody's constitutional rights away and expect them to know, I can carry here, I can carry. So the guy walks down the street, he's got to go 5 different places. What does he do with his gun? If 3 of the places he wants to don't have the fucking sign up, is he supposed to decide, oh, wait, let me run back and lock it in my car?
Well, what about just one place? It's still a huge inconvenience.
Yeah, and then what are you going to do? You're going to charge somebody with violating the sensitive area space. You're going to charge somebody for what? For being within your legal rights to carry a firearm, as dictated by the Supreme Court of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
The woman is a moron.
Not only in this decision, but they. Here's the whole thing. Starting with Miller, the Miller decision, okay, which kind of alluded to that the Second Amendment was a communal right. But it did say the Second Amendment protected all weapons that could be considered of a military nature. Okay. Well, they like to push that the AR-15 is a military weapon. So that means Miller specifically states that AR-15s are protected by the Second Amendment.
Well, it would go further as to say that any firearm used by any military at any time would be, because it doesn't specify U.S. military.
Well, actually, any weapon.
Any weapon. It doesn't specify U.S. military. It doesn't specify a time frame. It
Right.
doesn't specify any of that. So unless they're going to count explosives as a different category, then you would assume that they would also be protected. Bayonets would also. So wait a second. You mean to tell me that my bayonet is going to be protected under the Second Amendment, but according to the New York State Act, if I want to affix my bayonet to my rifle, I can't do it because you've outlawed the bayonet lug? Oh, wait a second. That means your SAFE Act is in violation of the Constitution.
Exactly. Okay, and it goes against the precedent held under Miller. Now we move fast forward a few years, okay, because Miller was in the 1930s. I don't remember the exact date. Fast forward a few years, and then we have the DC v. Heller decision, which confirms that the Second Amendment protects individual rights to keep and bear arms. Move forward a little bit further. Okay, that basically confirmed that the Second Amendment was applicable to federal authority. Fast forward a little bit further, and we have McDonald v. Chicago, which applied the Second Amendment via the 14th Amendment to the states. And again, upheld the individual right of people to keep and bear arms. Move forward again, and we have Satano v. Philadelphia, or no, Satano v. Massachusetts, I'm sorry, which it's clearly stated that any weapon that could be considered bearable is protected under the Second Amendment and is an individual right to keep and bear arms. So any weapon that can be considered bearable, i.e., any weapon that you can carry, is protected under the Second Amendment. They love to avoid these precedents that have been passed by the Supreme Court. And now we have this most recent ruling where you no longer have to show special need in order to get a permit to carry a firearm. Now they're trying to subvert that by passing additional legislation that is going to make default pretty much everywhere as a sensitive area. So essentially, they are still trampling all over our Second Amendment freedoms, our Second Amendment rights.
Well, it would really be nice if, for a change, they try to enact one of these laws and we have one of these activist judges that constantly jump in when nobody asked them to, when nobody's filed a petition, nobody's filed a case, nothing, but you always get some judge pops up and goes, wait, no, you can't do that. I said so. It'd be nice if we get one of these activist judges out there somewhere that's pro Second Amendment that says, no, you don't default away from the Constitution. The Constitution is the default. That is the line. That is the line.
It's plain and simple. Okay, right in the Constitution. Hold on a second. I'm going to go ahead and pull it up so that everybody can see exactly what I'm saying. Right in the Constitution, it states that the Constitution and laws pursuant thereof are laws and treaties pursuant thereof are the law of the land. Okay. Let's see. I believe it's in. Okay. So it's under Article 6. Let me get this up here for everybody.
Yeah, and while you're doing that, I'm going to respond to Jan. They also said that they also want you to turn over your social media information so they can determine if you're worthy. Well, what about the thousands upon thousands and thousands of people that don't have any social media footprint? Are they going to deny those people and say, "Hey, wait a minute, you don't have a Facebook page? You don't have a Twitter account? You're not on Instagram? We have no way of judging your social media score, so you're going to be unable to exercise your right?" Listen, social media is just that. I know I got at least 50 friends out of the thousands on my friends list that don't have their real name listed. How are they going to determine who's who?
Exactly.
Social media, I mean, listen, social media, people live their life on social media, the life they wish they had, not the life they actually do have. So trying to judge somebody by social media is like trying to determine whether or not you're allowed to do anything based upon what dream you had last night. It's a fictitious world. We're not going to be doing that social scoring here in the United States. Screw them. And if they want to look at my social media account and determine whether or not I'm eligible to have a firearm or not, they're going to say this is the last guy in the world who should be allowed to have a firearm. Because I would scare the hell out of them if they saw my page. Why? Because I enjoy my guns. I shoot all the time. This is what I do. This is my life. And I'm sorry, they don't get to make that determination. I got to turn my overhead lights on. Hold on.
Okay. So get back to the Constitution. Okay. So the United States Constitution says, "This Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof and all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution or the laws of any state to the contrary notwithstanding. Essentially, what it's saying is if a law violates the Constitution, it is null and void.
Right.
Judges are honor bound and under their oath bound to hold those laws that are contrary to the Constitution null and void. And we get judges that don't do that today.
Well, look, here's the bottom line when it comes down to what happened this week with the Supreme Court and the aftermath that was taking place, is that they are scrambling so hard because what they're trying to do is reinterpret an interpretation of an interpretation. This is like when you make a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy.
Right.
Eventually, nothing looks like the original.
No.
They have gotten to the point where they're trying to pull shit out of any crevice they can to try and figure out how they can do one thing and one thing only: control the people. That is their only objective. They don't give a damn. They don't give a damn if every other house, if the head of the household of every other house walked out of his house tomorrow, walked to the neighbor's house and shot somebody. They don't care if that happened.
No.
They don't care if half the population got wiped out. The only thing they want to do is make sure that if you're going to wipe out half the population, that you do it in a way that they approve of.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Zach, from National
welcome,
Firearms
Zach.
Coalition. There's my brother. What's up, pal?
Not too much. How are you?
We're doing well. It's a good week. It's a damn good week.
Yes, it is. So here's my question for Mike Marshall. I've been doing a lot of reading and a lot of research in the last couple of days on Article 5 of the Constitution.
Okay.
Article
The
5.
allowance of the Convention of States.
Right.
All right. So upon doing my reading and research, for anybody that doesn't know what the Article 5 allows, that is the...
I'm going to actually bring it up. Give me just a second. Okay. So, Article 5. The Congress, whenever 2/3 of both houses shall deem it necessary, shall propose amendments to this Constitution, or on the application of the legislature of 2/3 of the several states, shall call a convention for proposing amendments, which in either case shall be valid to all intents and purposes as part of this Constitution. When ratified by the legislatures of 3/4 of the several states, or by conventions in 3/4 thereof, as the one or of the other mode of ratification may be proposed by the Congress, provided that. And then this part has been stricken out because it's no longer valid. No amendment which may be made prior to the year 1808 shall in any manner affect the first and fourth clauses in the 9th section of the first article, and that no state without its consent shall be deprived of its equal suffrage in the Senate. Okay, the part that was struck out is no longer applicable because that went void after 1808.
Yes. So here's the question that was asked of us, and I told him that I needed to wait until I had my constitutional originalist and my uncertified historian to discuss this topic. I know you're very smart with the Constitution, and I know you know the Constitution much better than I do. Article 5, the Convention of States, basically is what allows the majority of states to propose and, in a sense, create new law, create new amendments, and ratify new constitutional and amendments, right?
Correct.
Okay. This was not actually ratified and added to the Constitution until the year 1870. And from all the research that I have found, the original frameworkers and the original founding fathers of the Constitution did write this Article 5 at the time of writing the original Bill of Rights and the original Constitution. And when they voted on Article 5 being added to the Constitution, the majority of the founding fathers voted nay because they said, what is the point in an absolute right if we just allow the states to change, adapt, or manipulate the rights to fit their own agendas? So what happened between the ratification of the Constitution in 1870 and what political party convened the states and brought Article 5 back and actually got it added to the Constitution?
Well, first off, Article 5 has always been a part of the Constitution. It's never not been a part. There has never been an amendment that has repealed it. It has always been a part of the original Constitution, the one that was ratified in 1787. Okay.
Well, if you do a simple Google search of when was Article 5 put in the Constitution, it says that it was not added until 1870.
Yeah, it was added. It's always been a part of the original Constitution. Always. It is
So
never.
what is the 1870 significance of Article 5?
I don't know. This is actually the first I've heard of it.
Well, just go Google that, because this is something that's been bothering me for the last 2 days. And I have a couple of people that I've been having a lot of constitutional educational talks with from National Firearms Coalition, and somebody brought it to my attention that Article 5 was never made official until 1870. And they told me, and this is why I'm asking you, because the story that I got told is that Democrat-led states in 1870 convened and had this added to the Constitution.
No.
I can't find anything on it. I've read the Constitution, and I don't know what is fact and wrong, and I don't know what is true and false, because when you Google Article 5 of the Constitution, it says right at the very top thing that it was added to the Constitution in 1870, and to my knowledge, this has been part of the Constitution since the ratification. So what is going on? Why does Google say it wasn't added until 1870 when I was taught that it's been there since the beginning?
Yeah, I don't know.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm
Googled it and
actually
see it?
trying to find any reference.
When I had this argument with these other couple people, I was standing steadfast in the point that Article 5 has been with the Constitution since the original ratification.
Yeah.
But if you, and I might be wrong, but when the link was shown to me and I went and read it, I was like, holy crap. Yes. I was like, holy crap. I guess it wasn't really added until 1870. So then I started doing some research and some reading on this to try and figure it out. And I kind of hit a whole bunch of dead walls.
Yeah, I'm finding absolutely zero on that, but that
Article 5, as best as I could tell, was in the original draft of the Constitution.
Yeah, it's always been a part of the Constitution.
It's the method for making amendments. That's
right.
That's it.
But if you go read that top article in Google about Article 5 of the Constitution, it states that the original Article 5 was kept out of the Constitution and not added until 1870.
All right, let me put this into perspective for you.
Yep, I'm listening. I'm all ears because I want to learn this and know what exactly is true, because Google is very, very misleading right now.
Google does not use the term mother anymore. It's birthing person. Wow. So anything you take from Google, 5 years ago, if somebody needed a fact, they would say, oh, well, Google it. And, it was, you could take it for granted that you were going to be getting, truthful information. But Google has now become an ideological source of information. So,
Mike Marshall, I see your head churning there. You see what I'm talking about, right?
No, actually I don't, because here I got Article 5 of the Constitution. First result is from the Constitute Project,
Right.
and it says it was added Constitution of the United States, 1789, Article 5. Okay, the last revision of the Constitution was in 1992. That's when the 27th Amendment was added. There is absolutely no amendment. The only way to change the Constitution is through the amendment process.
Right.
There is no amendments that either repealed the Article 5, nor is there an amendment that added Article 5.
My camera might freeze for a minute. Let me grab this link. I'm going to send you this link in the group chat.
Okay,
But when I tab out, my camera freezes, I think. So
that's fine.
give me 1 second.
So anyway, I wanted to get back to one comment that Jan had. Okay. So she had comment she wanted they also want you to turn over your social media info to them so that they can determine if you're worthy. Well, Dan, I hate to tell you this, but the NSA has been collecting your social media data, your phone records, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, ever since the Patriot Act. In fact, they had to create a storage warehouse in Colorado, I believe it is, to house this. And this storage warehouse has zettabytes of information. Okay. A zettabyte is, let me pull up this picture here real quick. Okay. So I actually need to share this screen instead of the other. Okay, share screen.
All right. I sent you a link and a screenshot.
Okay, I will give
Yep.
me just a second. I'll get it.
You're fine. Finish doing what you're doing. I got to answer a text message really quick. When I tab out, does my screen freeze? My camera freeze? Have either of you guys noticed?
I was looking at some other stuff, so I apologize. Okay.
No, that's fine. I'm just going to turn the camera off for a minute while
Okay.
I answer this text message. That way, if I am frozen, I'm not sitting here looking like a derpader.
Okay. So everybody pretty much knows what a kilobyte is. It's 1,000 bytes. Okay. And a megabyte is 1,000 kilobytes. And a gigabyte is 1,000 megabytes. And terabyte is 1,000 gigabytes. And so forth and so on. So a zettabyte is, let's see. So let's be 1,000, million, trillion, or billion, trillion, quadrillion, quintillion, and I actually don't even know what that number is called. But it's 1 to the 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 1 to the 21st, or 1 times 10 to the 21st power. So the federal government, the NSA specifically, has server farms in Colorado that store zettabytes of information on us. Okay. Everybody thinks they have a huge hard drive that's a few terabytes, 8, 10 terabytes. And You don't have really anything. And the NSA literally has everything on us.
Produced up in Washington is that
Mhm.
since nobody friggin' reads them, you wind up with shit like this. You wind up with shit like
Well, exactly. Exactly.
the United
Yeah.
States is
This froze up.
is ethical. There is no way that it should be legal. And unfortunately, between the time the Patriot Act was signed and now, it still hasn't been challenged all the way up to the Supreme Court. You know, where this is the example of how the damage is done before it could. There's so much damage done before that even if we do reverse it and we tell them, okay, you got to pull the plug on this, all of that information that's in there has already been disseminated to the 27 intelligence apparatuses that the United States has at its disposal. There is no privacy anymore. And I remember getting into arguments when they introduced that bill a couple of years ago. Remember they were going to start recording not the phone calls that we made, but who we called, the numbers that we what phone numbers are calling what other phone numbers. And I was like, I don't want nobody knowing who the hell I'm calling. Who I call is my business. This has nothing to do with you. I'm not doing anything wrong. What the hell are you? What is this bullshit? And
Did you
even if
do
I
any?
am, and even if I am doing something wrong, get a fucking warrant. You don't have the right to sit there. Like that's like hiring a CIA officer to stand in everybody's house. He's gonna put earplugs in so he can't hear what you're saying, but he's gonna stand there writing down the numbers that you press on the phone. Every bit of our information, this right now, is being recorded on some government computer somewhere.
Oh yeah.
Did you do any research on 5G networks and the privacy policies of the 5G networks for mobile devices and cellular devices?
Tell you the truth, no. And I'm gonna tell you something else. I don't have time.
Well, there
I don't
was
have time,
a
and I don't have the mental capacity to deal with yet another thing that's going to drive me out of my friggin' mind.
I don't know if they ever changed it or if they ever. I actually didn't do any research on it as of late. But when they were first introducing the 5G networks, it was right in their privacy clauses, right in their policy clauses, that by signing a contract in agreement to use 5G network, you were signing and agreeing to basically monitoring of your device at any given time for any given reason. And somebody pointed that out at the very early stages of 5G with the Apple products, and it created a big uproar in the media for a couple of days. And I don't know if they ever actually changed it or if they just kind of hid it and made it to where nobody saw it anymore. But it was part of the original 5G launch that when you signed a contract to use 5G, you were signing in the fine print that you had no privacy on the 5G device, that they didn't have to get warrants to give your information to police or the federal government or anything. Yeah. Did you see that screenshot and that
Yeah.
link I sent you?
Yeah, I did. I'm actually trying to duplicate your search.
That's so if you just type in when was Article V added to the Constitution,
Okay.
the very top article, the very top thing on Google says 1870.
Yeah.
And then if you go click that link and read through there, it makes mention of how it was originally written in 1780 whatever. And there's some brief talks about how it was never added until 1870. And it's got me confused because I've always been taught, and I learned when I learned in history class, the original Constitution that was there.
Mm-hmm. The actually Constitution Center is generally not. I don't necessarily agree with everything they state about the Constitution, but they're generally pretty spot on about what it says. Now, their interpretations, I beg to differ with sometimes, but they're pretty spot on what it says and the history of it.
Well, that's something that you should when you have time, read through it and look into it, because that's got me stumped for the last 2 days. Somebody came to me because I mentioned Article 5 of the Constitution because of all this stuff going on with SCOTUS and everything. I said, you're going to start seeing a bunch of convention of states coming together against SCOTUS and pulling Article 5 suits on them. And somebody was like, well, yeah, if Article 5 would have never been introduced in 1870. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Article 5 has been part of the Constitution since the original ratification. And they sent me that link, and I was like, what the hell did I miss?
And actually, in this article, I'm not seeing anything.
The only thing it mentions about 1868 and 1870 is civil rights.
Yeah, the civil rights.
Um,
So that's a Google deal. That's not. There is nothing accurate about 1870.
yeah, I don't know. It's got me confused
Yeah, there's
as to
nothing
why it would even
accurate
pop up and
about
say it
1870.
was added in
So anyway,
1870.
back to Convention of States. Since we're actually in process of discussing this. Okay, as I'm going to go ahead and pull that article back up. Sorry, my glasses are bothering me just a little bit.
You're all right. I think Frank's sitting in the dark.
Okay,
Can't see him.
back
Oh, there he
to-
is.
No, I keep switching screens back and forth to something else that I'm
Hey.
researching at the same time. And
How was Iowa? I haven't got to talk to you since Iowa.
dude, Iowa was insane.
Was it a lot of fun?
Oh man, I had both a literal and figurative blast in Iowa.
Oh.
We had a great time in Iowa. The only problem that I had which was not an insignificant problem by any stretch of the imagination, was that 75% of the video that I took got compromised because at some point during the day, somebody moved my camera and touched my lens and left the grease smudge right over my focus sensor. So most of my video that was taken was out of focus.
No.
And I have a 9-inch monitor that I mount to the top of my camera rig,
Right.
so that I can see it from 20 feet away. Because a lot of times I have to have the camera further back than where it can be. Because, like, say I'm shooting, my camera's back a good distance because I don't want to have rounds hitting it, or I don't want the shell casings hitting it or anything. So my camera rig is set up like 20 feet back. I'm zoomed in and panned in on my frame. But I have that little side camera, that little side monitor that pops out of the side of the camera.
Mhm.
I can't really see the frame that well from 20 feet away.
No.
You're talking this little box. So I put this big 9-inch TV screen on top of the rig.
Mhm.
It was so windy in Iowa that last week that it was acting like a sail. Every time I put it up, the wind would come along and I would watch my camera start walking down the way. So I said, I can't afford to watch my camera get destroyed, so I had to take the rig off of it. So while I'm filming, I can see the frame, but I can't see how clear the focus is.
Right.
It looked focused enough, and I could see the ring on the lens doing this thing, focusing.
Yep.
But in the sweet spot of 12 to 20 feet, everything stayed out of focus. So, I mean, I got video of me shooting, MP5s in full auto, and H and K57s in full auto, and all kinds of crazy crap. I can't do nothing with it. I can't do nothing with the video. It's sick. It made me sick. I had a beautiful round of shooting with a Volquartsen, a Black Mamba 22. This $3,000 gun, and the kid from Volquartsen is shooting, and this kid is like friggin'. They must hire him just to shoot for 8 hours a day.
Right.
Because this kid is burning through ammo and hitting bing, 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 bing. And I never fired the gun in my life. I picked it up. I'm not used to red dot optics on target pistols, and I'm just a little slower than he was. Just a little slower. and I was like, this would have made such a great video, and it got compromised. So
Got to get you a GoPro rig. Get you set up with some GoPros so you can wear like body cams and stuff.
well, the GoPros are nice and all, but as it is right now, I'm messing around with 2 cameras, 4 microphones, a drone flying around, and I'm the only person there. It's it's way too much crap for one person to handle for all of that stuff.
When I get my stuff situated for this, out of storage and stuff, I sent you pictures of my computer. I actually got 4 brand new GoPro. They came with the camera and stand, portable microphone, cordless microphone. I don't know. They were originally $900 at Walmart, and I got 4 of them on a price error for $49.99. They're still in the box, so when I get all my stuff back and get all my stuff out, I'll send you one. So you
Awesome.
can use it for your videoing and stuff. They got like a little body camera thing that you can like put on your shirt and you wear it as a body cam, and it's got like a cordless microphone that you can use, and it's pretty awesome. I'll send you the model and everything of it later this evening so you can check it out. But I got 4 brand new ones for $50 a piece because somebody put the wrong stickers on them.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do anything with 4 of them. Anyways, I'm glad you had a good time, man. I really wish that I'd have got to go. Sure, Mike wishes he'd have got to go too.
Believe me, if we were publicly funded, or we had the resource in that a lot of the other channels had, we would be able to assemble a team. I mean, there are teams out there, and I shit you not when I tell you, there were social media teams out there where there's one person that I'm familiar with who's on camera all the time. They're there with 5 people and support staff.
Mm-hmm.
And there's 5 people running around carrying all of that shit. And I'm standing out there with all the same shit they got, and I'm carrying it all by myself. And I'm saying to myself, we got to figure something out here because there's just way too much crap. If I had just one person was able to go with me, we'd have been able to do a lot better and stuff down. When Michael and I were out in SHOT Show together, we got great footage. We got great stuff because Michael and I were able to share the load. And when Lori was out at SHOT Show with me, we're able to share the load. If I go to some of these events by myself, there's just too much stuff. And I'm literally in Iowa. I've got my computer is in one booth. The
Excuse me for a second, guys.
Is someplace else. I got my camera bag with all my extra lenses and everything else in another booth, and I'm running around the floor, carrying the remainder of the stuff because I can't carry 80 pounds of stuff everywhere. And every time I got to stop and do an interview, I got to reset everything up. It gets to be a bit much for just one person. And like when we were out there, the wind was so horrible out there that our audio got compromised. And I was saying to myself, I have a $700 set of lavalier wireless microphones that I brought with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I opened them up to bring with me. I didn't have the transmitter. I left the transmitter on the charger back at my house. So I got the microphones and no way to send the signal to the camera.
Right.
I'm like, it's when you see people who do this gun stuff all the time, where that's really their only gig. Michael works 45, 50 hours a week. I do the 45, 50 hours a week. Jeremy, the same thing. We have full-time jobs. These other channels, they're bringing in revenue from what they're doing.
Oh yeah.
Because they've been at it for so long that's their job. That has become their job. That's all they do. So they'll work 40 hours a week to produce an hour's worth of content.
Yep. I actually just got to meet yesterday one of the what's his name?
Yeah.
Somebody on the page referred me to his YouTube like 2 months ago. He started out He was full time. He started out. His very first video was like a review of some rifle or something, like in 2011 on YouTube. And now he's like one of the top like gun pages. Like he's always doing exclusive reviews and stuff with new firearms.
I wonder if that's 22 Plankster.
I don't know. I don't remember his name. I know him by his name. I got to talk to him yesterday on a FaceTime. But shoot, who is it? Anyways, he was telling me, he's like, if you want to get into like doing gun reviews and gun videos, the way that I started out was I reached out to local gun shops and local gun ranges, and I didn't own any of the firearms I was making videos on. I was actually partnering with them for promotional purposes and saying, hey, so-and-so sponsors me, blah, blah, blah. And then they'd let me take a bunch of guns to the range with them and do like reviews on them. And I was like, you know what? I never thought of that.
Yeah, well, let me tell you something about 10 years ago versus now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I know.
That's not going to happen now.
No.
No gun dealer is going to say, oh, yeah, here's a bunch of guns. Go take them out to do the review. They're going to say, okay, well, this gun is $699. That gun is $789. This one is $1,400. Let's get the paperwork started because you got your 4473s to do, and you have to buy everything. That's how we do it now. Nobody's giving away. Yeah, I'm sitting there. I'm looking at my YouTube channel. I'm just gonna switch back real quick. If I go to my channel, I got, how many videos over here? 180 some odd videos. 130 of them are gun reviews.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We bought all of that stuff. I mean, with the exception of maybe 3 guns that got sent into us, we bought all that stuff. And I'm still buying stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Getting stuff in is very difficult to do. You really have got to get to a certain point. Look, a gun company isn't going to send you along a $500 or $600 gun because you have a channel that maybe 2 people will see your review and buy the gun from them. They're making $50 a gun, $60,
Right.
$70 a gun. It doesn't make financial sense for them to give you something for $500 so they could make an extra 100 in sales. It's not going to work that way. Especially me when I shit on half the guns that come in. I stand there telling
you gotta give them good reviews.
No, I give honest reviews.
No, he was telling me that he would go out to like the gun shops where they were getting like the new guns in, like new. Is that me or is that one of you guys? Can you guys hear that?
Oh, I hear it.
I don't know. It's not me. Oh, what the hell is that?
What are you hearing?
Keep hearing some sort of staticky buzzing noise. Oh, now it's gone. Now it's a tapping noise. I don't know. I was muting myself and it wasn't going away. So, anyways, he was explaining that he would get like, he would go to like the gun shops that were getting in like a new line of gun. And then him and the shop owner would take the gun out to they would take one out to a range and like shoot it and do a review and stuff. And he said that's how he got famous and how he always had quick access to the newest line of guns. Now he's so big and famous that all these firearm manufacturers send him like exclusive firearms to go test before they even put them on the market. It's pretty crazy.
Well, like I says, if he's doing it since 2011, he's got a pretty good head start.
Oh yeah. I've watched some of your videos. I sat one night and watched some of your videos, and then put your YouTube on the page, and been trying to send some people there to watch some videos.
Well, all I can tell you is that right now, from Iowa, I have 4 guns that are coming in.
Sweet.
that I'm very, very excited to have. Very, very, very excited to have. And uh, the one gun that I fired out there that H&K VP9 compact with a slide cut. The people from H&K offered to send me one, which was
Sweet.
fantastic. So we're
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
get one of those in. We're gonna get another gun coming in from a Buffalo Cartridge Company is importing a gun from Turkey. It's not even for sale yet in the United States. They're sending me one. It is probably one of the nicest shooting handguns I've ever fired. It is
Right.
so sweet out of the box. And the one that I'm really, really excited about, High Point. High Point is sending me a couple of guns. So now everybody's going to say, High Point? What the hell are you excited about a High Point for?
Hey, High
Listen.
Point's come a long way.
Let me tell you something about High Point. And I've been saying this about High Point for years. High Point is a fantastic company. They produce an inexpensive, reliable, virtually indestructible handgun that just about anybody can fit into their budget.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
that
they've come a long way.
that goes a long way when you have 18% of the United States population living at or below the poverty level. That is the part of the population that is most at risk of violent crime being perpetrated with them either in the street or at home.
Did you say 18%?
18% of U.S. people are either at or below the poverty level.
Is that pre or post COVID?
No, that's a general
I
average.
feel like it'd be. I feel like it's a lot higher right now. Our area
It's probably
sucks.
higher, but I'm looking at stats from like 2 years ago.
We
But-
haven't had bread in stores for almost 3 weeks.
Yeah, but I mean, out of that 18%,
Mhm.
I don't know a lot of those families that could afford to go and spend $600-700 on a Sig or a nice Smith and Wesson or something else.
Or a Glock.
Or a Glock. And then when you have availability problems like we've had with the supply chain, when you have a lot of companies that are relying from sources that are overseas for either the raw materials or the part components themselves, High Point is domestically manufactured.
Yep.
Everything is domestic. They didn't run into supply chain issues. They filled a niche, and there are tens of thousands of American people that owe their lives and their safety of their families to the High Point name.
I really like
And-
High Point and Rock
and-
Island.
And so for what High Point is, and I fired a High Point a bunch of times when we were out there. Ran a couple of magazines through it. I had a lot of fun with that gun. I had a lot of fun with it. I was accurate. I was fast. I didn't have any problems with the trigger. There was no problem with the gun. Listen, if you told me that's the only gun that I could afford to own, I'd be happy to own it.
Get out of here.
I'd be happy to own it. There was nothing wrong with that gun. And now they're coming out with their double stack 9mm handgun. High Point has always been a single stack gun. They're coming out with the double stack. I got to hold the prototype while I was in Iowa, and I'll be one of the first people to get one of those in for review.
Nice.
So, suck on that, New York.
Okay, let's get back to Article 5 because kind of left people hanging on that.
Yeah. Sorry.
So, Article 5 is essentially the amendment process and how amendments can be added to the Constitution. It's always been a part of the Constitution. It was there from the original draft because they knew that they needed to have some mechanism where the Constitution could be changed. In fact, that was one of the faults of the Articles of Confederation, which kind of led towards the Constitution being even considered. So essentially what happens with an Article 5 is there's two ways to enact amendments to the Constitution. One is to go through the federal legislature, start the House and the Senate, and both the House and the Senate have to approve the proposed amendment by a 2/3 majority. And then when that happens, then that amendment is sent to the state legislatures, and then they discuss whether or not they want to ratify that amendment. If they ratify the amendment and 3/4 of the states ratify the amendment, which currently stands at 39, then the amendment is ratified and it is enacted as law.
So do you think, I'll ask you the question that I was asked that led me to all this confusion. Do you think with all the recent SCOTUS rulings that we're going to start seeing a bunch of attempts of convening states to pass amendments that have to do with abortion and all of the stuff that we're seeing in the SCOTUS rulings?
Well, that I don't know, okay, because here's the thing. Right now, there is a push to enact a convention of states. One of the big things that they want to add in the convention of states is term limits and a balanced budget amendment. I am very, 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 very scared of enacting an amendments convention of states, especially in this time.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and I'll explain to you why I am scared. First off, if 2/3 of the states call for a convention of states, Congress, by constitutional mandate, must convene a convention of states. However, Congress gets to set the rules for what that convention of state entails. And what I mean by setting rules is I'm going to go back to hold on a second. Let me get this back up on screen. Going back to Article 5. Okay, it says right here, shall call for a convention for proposing amendments, which in either case shall be valid all intents and purposes as part of the Constitution when ratified by the legislatures of 3/4 of the several states, or by conventions in 3/4 thereof, as the one or the other mode of ratification may be proposed by Congress. Okay. Literally, the federal legislature decides on how that convention of states is. And there's a couple ways that they can determine that. One way is they just put it out in front of the state legislatures and say, hey, if you want, propose your amendments, and then we'll send them out in front of everybody. If a constitutional convention is called, then the Congress decides whether or not each state's going to have representation according to what we have in the House, i.e., California would have 39 representatives at the convention. Places like Alaska would only have one. Or it could be where they do similar to the Electoral College, where each state has the number of representatives that they have in Congress, plus each state has an additional 2 representatives to balance out what they have in the Senate. The other
I gotta go
is they
for a
could
little
say
bit.
each state gets a single vote. Now, given the current environment in the Congress right now, I do believe that they would go for the number of representatives, because that would give states like California, New York, and a lot of these large Democratic states an advantage in drafting the Constitution. Another thing that we have to keep in mind is the only time a constitutional convention has ever been called, and it wasn't called a constitutional convention at the time. The only time it's ever been called, the members of that convention decided to do away with the government that they were currently being operated under, which is always a risk whenever you do a convention of states, is that convention of states could actually decide that they don't like the Constitution, they think that we need to have something else, and they put forth that.
Yeah, which is kind of like a lobster, not appreciating his shell for protection, so he uses his claw to rip it off of himself.
Right.
It can be a very self-destructive process, and it's a process that unfortunately can be done to undermine 200 and some odd years of good that have been done. The Constitution. It can be a self-destruct button,
It can be.
and
Now, the
unfortunately,
thing is,
when we
still
have
some-
representatives like we have in Washington right now, who seem to have a propensity for not just disregarding the Constitution, but for vehemently hating the Constitution, I wouldn't put it past them at all to get to the point where
right.
their actions are specifically done to do more harm than good.
Okay. Jan has a comment. Mike, didn't you say a few weeks ago when I brought up convention of states because too many liberals would be represented from Congress? Not actually from the federal Congress. They would actually be from the state legislatures. And here's one key point on this is you need to ask yourself, do you trust your state legislature? Because you actually have no voice once this process started. The only people that have a voice is the state legislatures. They determine who the delegates are that are going to be sent to the convention, and they have final say on whether or not that whatever's determined at that convention is ratified or not. If they decide to do away with the Constitution, they could put a clause in that where if a majority of states decide to pass this new Constitution or decide to ratify this new Constitution, i.e., 26 states, then we would be under a new Constitution.
Well, plus there's also something else that hasn't been tested yet, as far as a convention of the states. If we were to have a convention of the states, and Lord knows we have no idea how long it would take.
No, we don't.
We have no long how it would take, under what rules in which they would be governed, how or what they would do. The test that hasn't been determined yet is what happens to the current Constitution while it's being debated at the Convention of the States. How many of our rights are going to wind up being suspended during the Convention of the States because somebody said, wait, we don't know if that's going to be applicable by the time this is all done, so you can't do this or you can't do that. There could be a lot of unforeseen circumstances taking place because we'd be in waters so uncharted that even existing courts would be probably sitting there going, well, hell, we don't know. Is that amendment going to apply when this is done? How do we hold trials? How do we have lawsuits? How do people have, just their everyday rights governed if we don't know if those rights are going to be valid by the time the Constitution of the states goes? It's like everything is going to be. Will everything be null and void until it's all reestablished? Is everything going to be held in hiatus? What's going to happen during the time that it takes for them to figure out what the hell they're going to do?
Now, during the Convention of States, the Constitution would still be in effect, okay? And it would remain in effect until the states ratified whatever came out of the Constitution.
Well, that's our interpretation of it.
That is the interpretation.
Right. We've seen what they've done already. You know, they might have intended for that to be that way in 1789, but this is maybe they didn't really interpret it that way because it all depends on what the definition of was. I just don't trust look, I don't trust anybody to take our entire Constitution, lock, stock, and barrel, put it in a blender, add whatever they want, subtract whatever they want, and try to mix it all up into some new concoction and call it a country. I don't trust them to do it.
Well,
I don't trust them to do it, and I think there's a lot more harm than could come out of it than what could come out good. Now, it goes back to this is my argument for a Constitution of the States is like line item veto. Just bear with me for a minute while I complete this thought because it gets a little weird. I always thought growing up, because every president that I've ever had when I grew up said at a State of the Union, and I'm requesting that Congress finally at long last provide the president's office with the line item veto. And everyone always had the same interpretation. So, oh, well, you know what? That would be a good thing because look at all the great bills that can be passed, but somebody put something in it that, if the president doesn't like this one bad thing, he could veto it out and we would have this great piece of legislation. That's if your president is moral, is of good character, is a good person who's looking out for the best interest of the United States and the adherence to the Constitution. What happens when he can line item veto the good things out of a very bad bill and then pass it into law? And I'll give you an example. It was Ted Cruz that himself, they had an immigration bill that was come up a while ago that would have granted it was when the Obama administration had the House and the Senate during Obama's first 2 years. They passed a bill granting legal citizenship status to 13 million illegals that are in this country. And Republicans were powerless to stop it, except during the amendment process. Ted Cruz was able to put a poison pill in that bill, something about not having them be allowed to vote for like 21 years or something like that. It effectively killed the bill. Democrats themselves shut the bill down because he put that in there. And if Obama passed it, signed it, it would have destroyed all the work that they had done to try and pass that bill. If they had the line item veto, he would have been able to veto Ted Cruz's piece of legislation out of that bill, signing this ridiculous bill that would have already bankrupted the nation. Sometimes because something sounds good on the surface doesn't always mean that it's going to be good in practice. And the Convention of the States is the same way. We might go into it with high hopes, high aspirations, thinking that it might be a great thing, but we are being governed by one of the most corrupt groups of representatives we have ever seen in our nation's history. There is too much money. There is too much corruption. There is too much backdoor deals. Too many bad things that we'll never know about for us to acquiesce that much more power to these people. And we can't let a Convention of the States happen. It just can't happen.
No, it can't. And to add on to your line item,
Mike's Hard Lemonade.
To add on to your line item veto, one of the biggest problems that I have with line item vetoes is it could literally give the president the power to completely change the intent of a law that was passed through Congress. Because the line item veto doesn't mean that he has to just take out a section that he doesn't like. Line item veto means that he could actually take out a phrase where it was originally shall not, and instead take out the not part And now instead of being shall not, it says shall. Okay, just like on the Second Amendment. You take out the not part of shall not be infringed, and it changes the whole meaning of the Second Amendment.
Well, it's the difference between a phrase and a paraphrase.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a phrase, you're quoting somebody verbatim. Paraphrase, you're selectively editing what that person said to make it seem like they said something. Like, for instance, the producer tried to make the world's greatest movie and failed horribly. And then the newspaper will chop that up and say, the producer made the greatest movie ever.
Mm-hmm.
He just picked the words out of the same sentence and restructured it to make it something completely different.
Yeah, exactly. And what really needs to happen, and I actually touched on this in an interview that I did earlier this week. Was it this week or actually it was Sunday? I did an interview. Um, there is a bill currently in the Senate called the REINS Act. Okay, and it is Senate Bill 68 or S68. I'm actually going to pull it up. This here could actually go a long ways in starting to fix our government. Now, it won't completely fix everything, but it could go, it could do a lot because honestly, if we think that the president and the Congress are the ones that are in power, but neither one of them are. It's the regulatory agencies that are running this country. And here is a bill that was is introduced by Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky. And it is Senate Bill S68, Regulations from Executive in Need of Scrutiny Act of 2021. Okay. And what this bill does is it revises provisions relating to congressional review of agency rulemaking. Specifically, the bill, this is just a summary, the bill establishes a congressional approval process for a major rule. A major rule may only take effect if Congress approves of the rule. A major rule is a rule that results in an annual effect on the economy of $100 million or more, a major increase in costs or prices for consumers, individual industries, governmental agencies, or geographic regions, or significant adverse effects on competition, employment, investment, productivity, innovation, or the ability of U.S. based enterprises to compete with foreign based enterprises. In addition, the bill establishes a congressional disapproval process for a non major rule. A non major rule may only take effect if Congress does not disapprove of the rule. So essentially, what this would do is it would take away from the executive agencies their power to just enact laws. We see it all the time. ATF's constantly changing definitions of what constitutes a firearm.
Well,
EPA enacts new regulations
well,
in its Clean Air Act
well,
or changes definitions.
this bill might be moot thanks to the Supreme Court, because according to the Supreme Court's ruling on the EPA this week, was that uh, administrative agencies like the EPA and the rest of them do not have the power to make law, and that any decisions that they make that changes rules or regulation must be by nature, by constitution, approved by the House and Senate before It has to have legislative authority. Now,
Yep.
this is very, very far-reaching because even though it was designated by the EPA, every single executive agency, whether it be the ATF, the Board of Education, any one of these ones that fall under the purview of the executive branch, all are now going to be sued, and all of them are going to have this be used as the case law that says, hey, well, guess what? You don't have the authority to make these rules up. So you know how you decided you were just going to eliminate the bump stock without going through congressional approval? Can't do that. You're not going to do that. And now they'll be able to do the same thing and go back looking at like something like the ATF. All the decisions that the ATF made without the approval of the House and Senate previous, going all the way back to its founding, we'll be able to go back and fight every single one of the decisions that they made.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to go back to pistol braces, rifle stocks, and all the rest of this. It's all going to go back. But anything that a regulatory agency has put into place without congressional approval is going to be subject to have it remanded and say, nope, if you want this, you got to get congressional approval for it.
Now, admittedly, each one of those laws, number one, first you're going to have to prove standing. So you have to prove that the law in question has adversely affected you. That's before you can even file a suit. Once you clear that hurdle, and this is one of the problems that we have with our process of challenging laws in this country. So number one, you have to prove that you have standing. So you can't just say, well, that law is unconstitutional, I'm going to file a suit. Okay, I have to prove that that law actually adversely affects me before I can take that challenge.
Well,
okay, so that's the first hurdle that you got to clear. The next hurdle that you got to clear is that you actually have to have the money, which it costs a hell of a lot of money to challenge these laws.
right. But now, because the Supreme Court has ruled about this, you don't have to worry about because it sent back a lot of this stuff to the lower courts. Now because you have the precedent being set by the Supreme Court, you don't have to necessarily have the big war chest that you did back when, because now you could take these things to even the lowest courts in the land and prove you can show standing in prove standing in a lower court easier than a federal court. It's cheaper to sue in a lower court. With all the smaller courts, we could actually go back and start doing like we said at the local level and say, hey, look, Supreme Court already ruled on this. And any judge can put an injunction against any agency. So we could start picking these things off at the local level with small judges, county, district, or whatever. It doesn't even have to get to the federal. I mean, California already sent out a letter. California already started sending letters out to all their different counties saying, hey, listen, when people want their pistol permits, you got to give them to them now. And they started with the other EPA already got letters going out about the changes that they got. And from what I understand, ATF already got letters saying, listen, we're going to be being challenged on a lot of these things and we don't have a leg to stand on. So I'm going to almost predict that some of these agencies might just act proactively and start saying, hey, listen, that thing that we did, we might have been wrong on that. Because I'm looking and saying to myself, how many people have been incarcerated, fined, or something that now they will be able to take these agencies to court and say, you put me in jail over something you didn't have the authority to rule on. The federal government stands to lose a lot of lawsuits, and a lot of cases and a lot of money that they probably don't want to have to deal with. So they may have to retroactively go back and remove some of these things and preemptively settle with people where they know they overstepped. This is just the court basically telling them what they already knew from the beginning. They knew they didn't have the authority to outlaw some of this stuff. They knew they didn't have the authority to make these rules and regulations, but they did it because nobody had the deep pockets to sue them. Now the precedent is out there, so any court in the land can take these cases up, and we have a good chance of winning every one of these things now.
Well, we do, but I'm bringing up something right now. I'm going to show you. I want to actually find the opinion. Okay, so here is, okay, this is United States v. Miller, the case that I'm bringing up here. Okay, and the primary holding under the United States v. Miller, only weapons that have a reasonable relationship to the effectiveness of a well-regulated militia under the Second Amendment are free of government regulation. Okay, which means AR-15s would be effective as a part of a well-regulated militia. So AR-15s are, by this opinion, by this ruling, cannot be regulated in any way, shape, or form. High-capacity magazines, again, same thing. Okay. Now, one thing that was in Miller is it kind of made it a communal right instead of an individual right. But if we take Miller, Cruikshank, Heller, McDonald, Catano, you take all those cases, we get any weapon that is usable as a means of self-defense or for military purposes is protected under the Second Amendment. Period. We've already got the precedents in place. We've already got the rulings in place. But we see what's going on in California, okay, or not California, in New York, it doesn't matter. They're still going to enact these rules and laws and registration and things against the ruling of the court, against precedents. And they all like to cite one phrase. Okay, I'm actually pulling that up right now. That Justice Alito said in this. Let me find it here real quick and then I'll put it up. Okay. So let me actually blow this up quite a bit, and then I'll put it up on the screen. Okay. So here it is. No, wrong one. There we go. Okay. So the United States v. Miller does not limit the right to keep and bear arms to militia purposes, but rather limits the type of weapon to which the right applies to those used by the militia. Those in common use for lawful purposes. Like most rights, the Second Amendment right is not unlimited. It is not a right to keep and carry any weapon whatsoever for any manner whatsoever and for whatever purpose. They love to use this phrase out of this ruling to justify their infringements. Are you still with me, Frank?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, the ruling this week by SCOTUS, and as brilliantly written by Clarence Thomas, pretty much clarifies all of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I have to say. And listen, with that,
like Michael brought up last week, what's going to be really interesting, and what is really interesting, and I still got to read through this whole opinion, is the dissents and how they literally, the dissenters, three of them, literally lay out the whole anti-gun movement position and how they are trying to legally justify this. Okay, so what's going to be really telling is I know New York State still has quite a few cases that are waiting to be heard, and whether or not the Supreme Court will decide to hear them or not, it's going to be interesting because I know there's some direct challenges to the SAFE Act that are making their way through the courts right now, and I think they are to the point where they're up to the Supreme Court and they're just waiting to get on the calendar or be rejected.
one of the things I'm waiting for is how the five boroughs are going to react to this, because now the five boroughs, you know, they are now shall issue.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as as far as I know, the five boroughs are still part of New York State. So I want to know, and I spoke to Dick Heller about this the other day, and he said he still had to do a little bit of reading on it and find out if New York City is part of New York State and you have a New York State pistol permit issued to you in one of the counties other than the five borough counties, wouldn't it stand to reason now that those five counties now have to honor the pistol permit that's issued in any of the other New York counties?
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm a resident of Tioga County, Broome County, Sullivan County, Shenango County, Albany County, any of those counties, and Delaware County, and I have a permit issued to me from one of those counties, and I decided to say, you know what, I think I'm going to travel to Queens County. this week. I want to go. I don't know, see some sights, and I want to carry my gun into the 5 boroughs. Am I going to have to worry about being charged with a crime? Being that I have a New York State pistol permit and I'm traveling within my state to go
Right.
see something in my state, in a state that is now determined to have been a shall issue state. Uh, how about all of those people that got arrested for all of
Mhm.
these years and wound up getting? Now you're not going to get charged with a felony, because you'll get charged with a class A misdemeanor if you travel into New York City with your firearm, and you have that. But all those people that got charged over all of these years, he carried an illegal gun in New York City. No, it wasn't an illegal gun. He had a permit for it, a permit issued by the state. Your
Mhm.
city is part of the state. Are those people going to have recourse? Are they going to
Mhm.
be able to have their records expunged? Can I now, as a Broome County resident, somebody who has a Broome County permit, can I now go into Manhattan carrying my gun without fear of reprisal from New York City Police Department?
Right. Well, okay. Um, this happened a while back. Okay, Ninth Circuit reaffirms Second Amendment rights for younger people.
Yep, I remember this. I cheered this one.
Okay, and essentially what it says is that California's ban of owning semi-automatic rifles by anyone under the age of 21 um, is unconstitutional. And this is Ninth Circuit, which typically leans fairly liberal. And they are actually saying that that type of ban is unconstitutional. What's going to be interesting is the bill that was just passed, the Safer Communities Act, restricts 21-year-olds from owning semi-automatic rifles. That is a direct contradiction to the Ninth Circuit, which is a federal court, the Ninth Circuit ruling in California. So this is going to be interesting on how that plays out as well.
I'm trying to get the list for uh NYSERPA versus New York, the judges. The way I know, which were the three that dissented?
Um, Bayer, Sotomayor, and who's the other one?
Kagan.
Yes, I think so.
So this, so the newest member of the Supreme Court sided with.
Oh no. Kagan wasn't in yet. Kagan just got sworn in Thursday.
No, Kagan's been in for 2 years now. I've been in for 5 years.
Oh, okay. I was thinking of the new one. I can tell you he dissented. I gotta get clear down at the bottom. Okay, Alito concurring, Kavanaugh concurring. Okay, so Breyer was one of them for sure. Okay. So Breyer, Sotomayor, and Kagan all dissented. Okay. And here's the first paragraph. So I'll go ahead and pull this up. Share screen, share. Okay. In 2020, 45,222 Americans were killed by firearms.
Right. Yeah.
of.
Yeah, we went over his bullshit last week.
Mhm.
You know, I'm going to cite my emotions and not the facts.
Exactly. Well, I'm going to cite my emotions and not the law.
All right, so on our side for this thing, we had Thomas, Alito, Gorsuch,
Mm-hmm. Kavanaugh,
Kavanaugh, and Roberts.
and one more.
What's her face? The one with the squeaky
Barrett.
voice. Yeah, Barrett.
So, yeah.
All right, now this was Breyer's swan song, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
so
he
he's
retired
moot now.
Thursday, and the new KBJ was sworn in.
All right, so he's moot. He's gone. We ain't got to listen to his blubbering anymore.
So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Well, we already know that she's an activist judge. Okay, she's already proven that in her time on the bench at lower courts. She's proven that she's an activist judge. So it's going to be interesting to see how much activism she tries to do from the Supreme Court bench.
Well, she can't identify a woman because she's not a biologist. Hey,
Yeah.
listen. If she can't identify what a woman is, then I don't know how she's going to be able to identify what an assault rifle is.
Well, if she can't identify what a woman is, then how could she make any rulings on abortion?
Well, now thankfully she doesn't have to worry about that. She should be thankful that she doesn't have to worry about having to break open the biology booklet and figure out, who has a hoo-ha and who has a who did and who done it and when, and try to make a ruling on it. So she's good to go.
Exactly. I just love how everybody's trying to say that all these justices lied in their confirmation hearings.
Look, they all tell you the same thing. I can't give you an opinion on something that I may be forced to rule on in the future.
Right.
The only thing I really care about from any justice is your adherence to the Constitution. Not your interpretation of the Constitution, your adherence. The Constitution is pretty blatant in what it says and what it doesn't say. I don't want to know how you interpret what somebody meant when the words are right there in front of you. So you know what? It was a good week. The Independence Day weekend is upon us.
It is.
We are celebrating a holiday that is only possible because good men and good women were armed.
Exactly.
With military grade firearms.
Exactly.
And we took on the greatest military on the face of the earth and sent them packing.
Mm-hmm.
So stick that in your cornhole and smoke it. So I'm going to sign out because I got one dog who's looking at me out the window with his legs crossed. He really, really has to go for a walk. I have finished my Mike's Hard Lemonade. I have to go for a walk. And that's going to be it. Yes, that's why I call it the Independence Day weekend, Jan, not the 4th of July.
And actually,
happens to be the day, not the holiday. It's
our true Independence Day, the day that we actually declared our independence, is tomorrow. January 2nd was when Congress officially declared the United States independent from Britain.
Well, whatever day it was, to our founding fathers and our founding mothers, because without the support of the women in their lives, our founding fathers would not have had the intestinal fortitude to put pen to paper, have 56 people sign the Declaration of Independence, and declare us a free people. We thank you, we honor you, we say God bless you, because without the sacrifice that you made all those many years ago, generations of Americans would not have been able to be free to create the most prosperous nation on the face of the earth with the most advanced technology, and we have brought more good to humanity than any other culture in history. So, to you, our founding fathers, thank you, and God bless you.
Yes, very much so. And with that, I just want to invite everybody to um, join us every Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time when we have roundtable discussions, much like what we had tonight. We have these every Friday night. We You can find us on Facebook Live and YouTube Live.
And
YouTube,
if anybody watching wants to join in the conversation, just shoot off an email to Michael at L1F.us or Frank at L1F.us. Send us a link. We'll send you back an invite, and you can get on front of a camera with a nifty little headset, just like we have, or that I have. Mike's not wearing his. You can join us on camera for the lively discussion. Let the whole world get to know you as they're getting to know us, and let your voice be heard.
and it doesn't matter if you are on. It doesn't matter
Jan,
what side of an
I was
issue you're
talking
on.
to you, Jan. Jan, if you want to come on the show, we'd love to have you.
It doesn't matter what side of an issue you're on. If you wanted to be a part of the show, we would be more than happy to have you. Because the only way we grow is through civil discourse and discussion. When we have debates and we challenge each other's beliefs.
Oh, you don't have to be
Because I'm
camera shy, Frank.
Frank.
I know. Well, you could always come on in voice only. We can make up a little cartoon icon of you, put it up in the box so that you can have a representation of yourself, a digital avatar, as it were, and you could just use your voice, and you could join us that way if you wish. And we love to have anybody on the show. The more the merrier. And besides, I'm sure our audience like to see a little bit more than just Michael, me, and the rest of the gang. Yeah, so please feel free if you ever want to come in. We'd love to have new faces, new voices.
Yes, we do. Okay, and like I said, we don't put anybody down for having a belief different. We may challenge your belief, but we will never put anybody down for having a difference in opinion.
And
Now, with
satisfaction guaranteed, or none of your money back.
with that, I want to invite you to visit our website at l1f.us. We are going to be starting up a podcast here very shortly that will showcase each of these roundtables. And you'll be able to download them each week. Once I get that live, I will let you know how you can subscribe to that, and you'll never miss an episode. I also want to invite you to follow our Facebook page at Liberty First Foundation on Facebook, or join our Facebook group at Liberty First Foundation Facebook group. You can also watch us on YouTube at Liberty First Foundation or at L1F. Why am I drawing a blank, Frank? L1F, the Range Report. And you can see a lot of videos on both of those. On Liberty First Foundation, we've got several interviews up there. I haven't put up a video on there in a while, other than the live streams. I am going to be starting to do videos again and doing interviews. There'll be more constitutional educational videos. Frank does all kinds of gun reviews on his channel, The Range Report, and I invite you all to check out both of those YouTube channels. And if you want to help us out, one of the best things that you can do is like, share, follow, and subscribe for us.
And speaking of like, share, follow, and subscribe, if you happen to be on Twitter, you can find us at the the Liberty First Foundation, or just at the Liberty First on Twitter. And if you're on Instagram, at Liberty One, the number one, Liberty One Foundation on Instagram. And you get we have a variety of personalities that we're allowed, that we sort of have to gauge depending upon what medium you find us on. So sometimes we're very low key, sometimes we're a little higher, sometimes we're so off the charts that you can't stand us. So you'll find something that you'll like about us in just about any forum. So like I said, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, we're everywhere. We're like a rash, and no calamine lotion.
So with that, I'm going to say goodnight to everybody. Thank you for watching.
And you guys be safe and
join
keep
us next
straight.
week.